Maybe we can ask you to explain to us, what are some of the reasons that would make an investor hold back their money?
I think it's multiple reasons. One being that depending on which sector you're investing in. For example, real estate has been slow the last year and a half. So people putting their money there are concerned that they may not get it back within a reasonable time. So they hold back investment in that sector. Then, of course, there's issues with services, goods and services, and repayment for what you invest in. One of the challenges that Kenyans are talking about is that there's no money. Where's the money? Where can I get money from? And of course, it's because of this issue with non-payment of dues, starting with the government not paying their suppliers. And we've seen some initiatives to have the county governments have been asked to pay all pending bills so that the suppliers can then go pay their debts and pay their workers, etc., etc. So there's been a contraction in liquidity, and that may be also a reason contributing to withholding the money.
But when it comes to the suppliers, I remember there was a story we ran last week.
Yeah,
about,
on the 2nd, actually.
On the 2nd, about the procurement authority talking about, because we've spoken about suppliers not getting their money, and they were saying there's a lot of suppliers who have not been paid yet, and some of them might be some of the suppliers who are not legit, but for the suppliers or anyone who has been asked to supply anything to the government, you can always go to the website and check how legible that company is. And I think no one needs to worry if you use the correct terms and the means and the proper way. There's correct people who are willing to use the correct procedure to make sure that all the suppliers are the legit suppliers and they get their money, because they said that everyone was going to get paid. But there are some who are still complaining. What's your take on that, Sophia?
And actually,
a big challenge. One, for example, some new administrations that came into the counties did not want to be responsible for anything that was done before their time. And so they may not have budgeted those funds to pay those previous suppliers. And now they've been told you have to pay. And what that means is that there's going to be a shortfall in the actual budgetary allocations because you're now using those funds to pay those previous suppliers. So that's going to be a bit dicey. But in terms of repayment, it's not just the government that has a problem. Even the private sector, you can go and supply a customer or a client with goods and services, and they take 60 days, 90 days, 120, sometimes longer to pay you. So you have to go and borrow a line of credit from your bank so as to pay your own suppliers to supply your other clients. And so it becomes a big problem. So it's a systemic problem in that we have this tendency to delay payments to people. I think, and we've had discussions with other business persons, that we should have a law that says if you go beyond your invoice date of 30 days, then you pay interest to the person you owe, unless they stipulate that you don't.
When, for example, you said you come in the office and there's already a mess when you get there. So me as a common wananchi, how is that my problem?
It's not your problem, but you're affected because the person who actually will issue or authorize that payment has a concern for themselves individually. And also for the administration, because they might make a payment and then down the road they find out that it was either fraudulent or services weren't provided and so on. So in that case, I think, the common wananchi is caught up in that mess. Yeah.
So we just need to make sure everyone does their job properly, follow the right procedures. It's very interesting to see.
The international investors have a whole lot more money than the local investor.
True.
So even picking the investments that they're going to put their money in is different. For example, those who want to, like the story you were talking about, those who want to invest in the wind tunnels have a lot of money, more than the local investor who wants to invest maybe in building an apartment complex. So big difference there. But Kenya is actually a good place to invest, and you're likely to get a whole lot more back than in other markets. And those who are investing in energy have a return, because one, we need more energy in the country so that it lowers our per unit price. And also with energy you can export. to other countries.
But
So-
wait though, I know what you're saying is makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But you see, it needs to make sense to the common mwananchi. Like they were saying, like SGR is here. People, yay, we have SGR. Yeah, fine. I don't have money in my pocket. I don't have food.
Yes.
How is that beneficial to me? Fine, it's beneficial to the country maybe in the long run. But the government or the people responsible need to do something about getting money in our pockets. I need money.
I agree with you, and I think it starts with those payments we were just talking about. Pay the suppliers so they can pay their suppliers, and they can pay their suppliers, and it
chain
trickles
reaction.
down. That's the immediate get back on the absence or lack of money in the pocket. You know, there are other ideas that I think the government should explore, and that's everyone getting paid every 2 weeks instead of every 30 days.
Why
So we
is
are not
that?
all scrambling
Right.
to go to the bank or to go to the shops and so on.
That makes a
You know,
lot of
it
sense.
makes sense
Yes.
because the more money you have to, I mean, it's still the same amount of money
Yeah,
probably,
yeah.
but you have it
In
more
shorter
consistently.
intervals.
Exactly, and you can go buy whatever
Is
you want
this
to buy
being done
earlier.
elsewhere? I think in the US it works.
It is.
Like they are paying
Absolutely.
every 50. Oh my God, where is the
Yeah.
president? We
Yes,
should make this
someone
a
should
law,
let him know.
right? We should make this a law. Like we should
Absolutely.
start
That one
getting
is easy.
paid
It costs nothing.
every 15
you know.
days.
Yeah.
This would be.
To us, but I've just recalled that she said NSSF.
Yes.
And that's
It's a
really about
long
retirement. You know, so you're putting money away for the long term.
Long term,
You
yeah.
can borrow half of it so that you don't, you know, finish it up and so on. So that's a different option that
True.
someone has a choice. But I think there should be better investment
Terms.
opportunities.
Yes.
So that you put your money away. Then after a little while, you can
can
borrow
have it.
up to the amount that you've put in, you know, etc. I think that would be a better plan. But it's social security, so we're not going to argue with that.
Cannot
long
argue
time.
with
Yeah,
that.
It's
yeah.
a long term. Yeah.
And then the other thing with Boda Bodas is the number of people that are involved in that business. We're talking about
so
hundreds
there
of
is like
thousands.
more than 250,000 border riders.
250,000, that's a big number.
250,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for
Absolutely.
NSSF, by
That's
the
a
way.
lot.
25 shillings times